instead of just building a team, we want to build a dynasty. So how do you, whether it's keeping in mind with business, so you're working on building a business and maybe your team is you're hiring employees, or a lot of clients that we work with are on multi-level marketing companies. So in that case, they're literally building team members and not hiring employees. So either strategy that you're going to go to is working with people and keeping them in line with your vision. You can hire somebody, but if the person's not aligned with what you're doing, you're going to be getting resistance. You're going to have a lot of turnover. So whether or not it's, like I said, an employee, or you're actually recruiting a team member in like a MLM, same idea, same principles. So we want you to start working on leveraging yourself, because if you take this as a self-employed aspect, so you're trying to literally manage every single person on your team, help them, keep them going individually, you are going to be completely overwhelmed. So all of this aspect is to keep you moving forward, to leverage your time and leverage your team's time, and do really well with it. So phase one was actually on how to get the team, creating a home base, keeping in contact with people. How do you do that? Well, they say recruiting people, pretty easy. Keeping people is the challenging aspect. So in this case, you can kind of think of it as herding cats. If you try to get them, cats don't do much. You can kind of shove them, they're going to turn around and do the other way. So how do you get cats or people to stick around with you and do what you need them to do? Well, in this picture case, give them an incentive, keep them moving forward always. And in this case, the guy's even leveraging his time. He's not helping out one cat and trying to get one cat into the crowd at the same time. He's using strategies to help all the cats move in the direction that he wants. And that's definitely what we're going to work with you guys on. So in order to keep your team, you need to have two aspects. You need to develop a plan of action. So when people come on board with you, like I said, whether they're an employee or a new team member in a multi-level marketing, what are you going to do to help them keep moving forward? And then once they're moving forward, you need to be supporting them to keep them always moving forward. A lot of people, they have huge momentum at the beginning, they fly out of the starting gate, they're all pumped up, they get their stuff going, and what happens? They eventually disappear. Life gets in the way. So it's not only getting them moving initially, but how do you continually keep them motivated? So those are the two challenges that you have in keeping a team. So how do you keep people around? Well, we talked yesterday about having a good vibe and making sure that everything comes on board, but it's really offering a place of support. People want a sense of community and, that they belong somewhere. So you want that in your home base. And so you're going to develop this plan of action. And what your plan of action is how can you get somebody in a multi-level marketing aspect, how can they be able to do what it is that you promised? Hey, join my team and we're all making X amount of money. Of course, there's no income guarantees, but how are you going to do that? Well, a lot of things, it's getting started in basic steps. You want no more than 10 steps, but you need whoever comes on board with you to get them going, to have a clear plan of action laid out. If you hire somebody, go ahead and get them going and lay out exactly, well, here's what you're going to be doing at this time. You walk them through how to do that. And, if you're hiring people virtually, like virtual assistants, do a training video. You have to do a video anyways. Well, guess what? Record the video. So when you bring on new VAs, you don't have to sit there and now tell every single new VA what to get started. You have, your basic steps all done, whether they're typed or video steps or both, but you have every aspect to get going. In my coaching website, we have a start here aspect. Gil has the same thing. So it's very clear what's the plan of action. Where do you start? On our website, it's very clearly labeled start here. So make sure that you have that aspect. And then people are going to feel better, they're going to relax, and they're going to ask more questions if they feel like they have a game plan. If you just kind of jump in and, some people are awesome at the sink or swim. You just throw them in, they'll figure it out on their own and they'll do it. It's rare. Most people, you're going to have a tendency to babysit them. Well, how do you eliminate the babysitting? You give them a plan of action. You make it very clear, very to the point, very basic, so that they can do it themselves. And you can also start leveraging your group once you have a team or a group, whatever you want to call it. You can leverage them to start helping people. Facebook groups are an excellent way to offer support. So you have, in the case of a website, hey, you have a start here, you have all of that. And then, well, you can use the groups in Facebook. So, like my coaching students, we have a group. So, I answer questions in there, but other people answer questions. They give feedback. So, everyone's helping themselves and moving forward. That also creates that community basis, and it has your team members talking to each other so that they're united and it's not just all coming back to you. And if it's all on you, you're self employed, you're going to burn out. To support the troops. So this case is definitely where your leadership skills play in. So you need to tell them what they need to hear and not necessarily what they want to hear. Um, we're very big on no negativity. You can feel overwhelmed, but instead of focusing on all the stuff that's challenging right now, you want to be telling them what they, have them say, well, what do you want? Don't tell me what you don't want. Focus on what you do want. And that's some of the mindset that we work on, especially, is no negativity and keeping people moving forward. And like I said, it might be strict at the beginning, but people and your team will respect that. And if they want to be complainers, do you really want them on their team? No, you don't want them around. So that it's okay if they disappear, because you don't need that negativity anyways. And it's okay to correct them if needed. You are the leadership. So if there's something that you don't like within your team, yes, it's your right and your responsibility to go ahead and correct things that you don't like in your team. And that just keeps everybody, moving forward together, united, and back in that core identity and core values. That's where it comes through on that. And that's where you offer your leadership to support people and make sure that anybody who's, that you have on your front line, as we covered yesterday. So any of your front lines, they're supporting your vision, they're supporting on how you manage your troops, and they're implementing that along with you. So phase 3, now it's to build the dynasty. So we did the foundation. First you got people in, then you kept people. Awesome foundation. Well, if you want to go really big with this, how do you start building this out and scaling it? And the biggest thing is that you're not going to be able to scale if you have that self-employed mentality. If you don't have these systems in place and you're not building a team and you're not leveraging your time. If you're on the phone talking to every single person, you can't build a dynasty because there's only so many hours in a day. There's so many emails that you can respond to in a day. You can have a whole team of assistants responding just to emails. It's ridiculous. That's where you offer group support in, Facebook groups, and having other team members answer questions. And a lot of questions can also be eliminated by having, that plan of action to get started. So just keep in mind, you need those foundations before you can go ahead and run with it. But once you're to the point you have a fantastic foundation, now let's work on building your dynasty. So in there's 3 aspects. So you first, it's setting yourself up so you can expand beyond measure. And that's a fantastic feeling to have, is that there's no limitations. And that's why we all like to be, self-employed at the beginning, transferring it out to become a business owner. Why? Because once you remove yourself from it and it doesn't all rely on you, the sky's the limit. If you're involved and everything has to come see through you, there's always going to be a glass ceiling, because you can only accomplish so much at any one time. The second thing is intelligent leadership that we'll jump into, and just being a smart leader, and that's where your skills really have to be polished, and then just compounding on all of the efforts. So as far as expanding beyond measure, the biggest thing is to let people in your team do what they want. I work with Gil on a lot of different things, but I also have my own things. He's not controlling what it is I do with my own coaching students. Steve, you're the same thing. You have your own coaching students, and although, we're connected to Gil, we work with Gil a lot, he's not controlling what it is that you're doing with your students. So just examples on that, and as you bring them in, don't control it. You want to support and appreciate other leaders and not try to be a control freak. And if you're a control freak, you're self-employed, and you're never, ever going to move over to that business owner aspect, because you got to let go. and really allow the growth to come in. If people have awesome ideas, let them run with it. If they feel, and if you're controlling that, and if you're squashing those leaders, they're not going to be happy. They might share your vision, but they're going to feel blocked. One of, the reason why I started my first business is I was working with somebody that it was a fantastic relationship, as far as she was basically letting me run her business, but I didn't have the business, the behind the scenes responsibilities. I just ran the business. I loved it. Well, she didn't let me do what I wanted to do that were good business decisions. So what did I do? Well, I left her and went off and started my own business and became her competition. She hates me for it. I'm sorry. I tried working with her, but she kept squashing what I wanted to do. So that's where, if you want to expand, what we did in my business is, instead, when we had leaders rise, in my animal party business, we said, sure, you want to open up a satellite company where you live 50 miles from here? Awesome. So they became our satellite. So instead of where I had a boss who said, oh, no, 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 it has to be this way, and she was very controlling with it. She liked that I ran it when it was the stuff that she wanted to do, but she didn't let me have that creativity and that authority and becoming my own leader. So what we learned and we implemented in the party business is, yeah, anybody who came through, we had a girl graduate from college with an interest in horses. Well, what did she do? She went out, purchased ponies, worked with ponies, and now we offer pony rides, and she technically owns the pony ride aspect of our business, and we brought her in. So rather than isolating and saying, well, you know what, if we're going to do ponies, we have to own those ponies. And, instead of doing that, we brought her in and we kept her, because if she wanted ponies and we weren't going to let her do ponies, what do you think she was going to do? She was going to leave our company, go buy ponies, and become our competition doing pony rides. So look at that bigger picture, expand people, let them do what they want with your team, and that's how you grow and you leverage other people's time. My business doesn't have to deal with the pony aspect. We don't have to worry about, getting the pony's feet clean and, buying the food and all that stuff. Why? Because that girl manages it all. So it actually, it benefits us. It's one less responsibility, but yet it's another service and another way for us to make money. So just hopefully that example works for you guys. So you see, just let people do what they want when they're on your team, instead of having that everything has to be in your way and you have to put your fingers into it. Step 2 with leadership, especially when it comes to MLM, don't cross recruit people. Be very ethical. Treat people the way that you want to be treated. And the biggest thing of being a leader is that people have to stand on their own. You cannot babysit people. Although the tendency there is very likely, especially, for those control freaks and letting go and all those aspects. Just let people stand on their own and figure it out. And very grateful that my leaders do that same thing for me, and I get to figure it out. And sometimes it's frustrating, but you know what? At the end of the day, I'm a better leader for it. And then cooperative compounding. So this is where expanding upon the idea of teams within a team, and you're working together. So in my party business, going back and forth, is that, we have somebody who does ponies. We have another person who does puppies. We have, 2 different satellite companies of people that said, hey, I really like this business. So instead of becoming our competition in Los Angeles, we have people, an hour, 2 hours away having their own satellite. So now my company can offer services all throughout Southern California. We're working together as a team within a team in order to grow our business and not have to have the whole do-it-yourself aspect. And then the great thing too is, especially, in that multi-level marketing and things like that, your team is leading your team. So you have other leaders rise out, and not all the responsibility comes on you. You use their ideas and you guys all work together. And the fantastic thing is that, by the end of the day, your team or your business is moving and growing without you. And that's how you can begin to transition over, which is the goal, my personal goal, through all this stuff, and hopefully a lot of my coaching students too, is working and transitioning from being a self-employed business in order to a true business owner. And a true business owner can, go on vacation for a month, be away from computer access, have nothing to do with the business, come back, and the business has grown. and it functions without you, and that's the idea, that you want to be a part of the business. However, you need it to be able to run without you when you want your time. Self-employed people, they have absolutely no time, no fun, no none of that. Why do I know? Personal experience, 5 years of being self-employed. I won't do it again. Cool. And then here's some just leadership tips for you guys. So people always need something to strive for. So as a leader, you want your team members, your employees, something like that. They always need to have something to strive for, and then give recognition for that success. If somebody does well, a lot of like the MLM companies, they run contests all the time with prizes. If you're in the if it's your business and your employees, give them something to work for and recognize people. And then also don't forget how it felt when you started. If you're recruiting people into a business and stuff, one, you have that magic, that excitement of potential. So don't forget that aspect. But two, don't forget how it felt when you didn't know what you were doing and you were so unsure. So just keep that in mind. The biggest thing, with leadership is also to be empathetic and to be able to be relatable. Some leaders, they, like we call the gurus, they, in my opinion, they've pretty much lost touch with the average Joes. And although we look up and worship them, they're not connectable. So my favorite leaders are the people who, they might not be down in the trenches, but they relate to that. They talk to you. They share stories of when you're there. With the gurus, if they share a story of when they were broken living in your car, you're just like, yeah, I believe it, but it's not relatable because they don't relate to you on other levels. And then some other ones is for you to become a good leader. You need to surround yourself with people that help you make good decisions. If your expertise is, say, in marketing, but you're pitiful on customer service, then surround yourself with somebody that's excellent on customer service. Or maybe it's money financing or whatever it might be. Make sure that you surround yourself with people that complement you, the yin to the yang. If going back to yesterday's things, know what your strengths and weaknesses are and fill in the gaps. Don't try to cover all of them. That's the self-employed mentality, the do-it-yourself. It all relies on you. In this case, bring it in. Even the gurus, they have a whole team of leadership advisors. So definitely keep that in mind. And then you always want to challenge yourself to become better and read, read, read. Leaders are readers. So always grow and work on yourself. And a great thing here is the quality of your leadership actually depends on the leaders you surround yourself with. Not only your leaders in your company, but the leaders that you follow as well. So make sure, one of my mentors says emphasizes really big on be careful who you listen to. You only want to take advice and model from people that are already doing what it is you're doing. A lot of, gurus are just great theorists. They're not actually practicing it. Or maybe, they made a lot of money 10 years ago and now they're selling courses. Well, they're not relevant. They're not in the trenches now. They don't keep up to date. So be careful who your leaders are, and surround yourself with people that are actively doing and achieving what it is that you want to do. And an interesting here was to reinvent yourself as a leader every so often. There's different celebrities that do that all the time. They go from, comedies and, somebody's kind of a spoofy actor to suddenly they do some serious roles and people look at them in a different way. So as a leader, you need to do that too. And it doesn't have to be as an extreme, but just keep that in mind and always keep bettering yourself. Cool. And pretty much the lasting thought here is when your team shares the vision that you have, that's when you build the dynasty. So you want every aspect of your team to share this vision of growth, of, the bigger things behind it. If you're selling a product, that's the minuscule part. Why is it that you're doing? Who are you helping? And all of that aspect. So that's what you need to keep in mind. And when the people around you have that aspect, then that's when you're going to build something that's worth lasting.
I know that's super relevant. I know you mentioned and focused a lot on, MLM, and that's all this is really important. But I mean, we used to do the same. It's the same stuff we used to do in building sales forces in any industry. You know, so I mean, whatever you're doing, whether you're you're building a door-to-door sales force that's commission only, or you're building a bird dog network. I mean, all these principles, these are, I mean, these are things that I've used personally in the past for very effective. Good stuff.
Yeah, just like you said, building sales teams, or in my own business, that's even though they're employees, it's team members, and allowing that creativity, which is where my former boss went wrong, because she didn't allow me to grow with it, so I became her competition. Whoops.
Yeah. I love how you're talking about cross recruiting too. Back when we used to do door to door, we would be contracted, and there might be 5 different contractors in the county, right? And so the corporate guys, they'd come in and they'd offer these huge spiffs, right? For recruiting bonuses, and so they would try and recruit entire teams from these other contractors in the same area. Wow. And sometimes they're very effective at it. Definitely a gray area.